Hello everyone. It's titled From Black Holes to White Holes. And really how that's spelled is that the first one is H-O-L-E, as in a black hole. And then the second one is W-H-O-L-E, as in a white hole. So from black holes to white holes simply means that we're going from our confusion into our clarity. We're moving beyond our lack of significance and just simply realizing that the great movement of life, the great dance of life is the next step. So as in our involvement in this life process is what is really even making us aware of the value of life. So this involvement is very important because you will see that there are some points in your reality, in this hologram sense of your existence, that there are parts of it that does not make sense. That means there's some, you're accepting everything as it is. You're like, all right, this is all physical, I'm accepting this. But a part of you is also observing. It's like, how much of this do I see to then assume, to then be certain? Because we're assuming that certainty is really what we trust in. It's something that makes sense, that we have an experience of that is real. And subtly mankind is seeing his reality is more than how just he has thought he was this individuality this whole time. You must learn to take yourself beyond your own measurement. Because when you begin listening to the judgments of yourself, they are usually very similar to the judgments of others. And so you wonder, have I spoken to myself in a wrong way? And actually, no. It's simply that your awareness to what reality meant was at a point where you did not realize your value. As in, sometimes we're looking for that formula, we forget we're part of that formula. There are many choices that you can have, but what you will see is that life has a shape, and that shape is what you're really working with. But in awareness of that shape, you will see that the nature of the experiencer is always beyond the nature of the object of experience. So you will see that it's not that we're arguing whether you are a spiritual being or not. We're simply saying that how much do we know to assume? How can man assume when it's as if we don't know our very ancient past? Do you know, it's as if like assumption is something which is man trying to hold on to. You know, it is as if reality needs our grip. And it normally doesn't, because when you try to grab things, you will see that life will give you less. Because only a person who doesn't have is grabbing, in a sense, you know, is trying to steal or trying to obtain, you know. In other words, consciousness is multidimensional. You're doing many activities throughout the day. These activities are done with certain amounts of awareness based on the phenomena in your moment, based on what's happening in your moment. Do not judge yourself as an individual entity, because when you look at that individuality, you see that it's only produced out of your awareness of the whole. So what is in essence you is your awareness to life, which in a sense is a collective sense of consciousness when you are considered as an individual being. So what I'm telling you is that sense within you, which is your knowing, it is not just from sensory perception. It's how you exist alongside all existence. It's as if the mirror was irrelevant to you, regardless of your reflection, regardless of what reality you saw. What was significant was the actual experience. And so eyes are an interesting phenomenon. Man's greatest study is the study of his eyes. And you know, he can't see all of them because sometimes some of his own eyes are keeping him here. It's as if we are gaze of a deeper self-communication that we are, in a sense. Of course, this is very playfully, in the sense of abstract. Meaning is very hard to find when time and space shift for you. So you will see that when your senses of space and time shift, you will become very transparent in one reality to find your meaning in another. Value is not that as important as what is really there. So if I come and bring a stone rock, let's say I just pick up a rock from the ground and I'm like, hey everybody, this is God. You know, if I just take a rock and say this is God, right? You will see that before you can even see if there's a creator or creation, there's the requirement to see yourself. There's a huge emphasis here, and that is why it's important for you to find Mr.Within in your own way. It is your revelation, it is your eyes, it is your gaze. In other words, forget everyone for a second and just see that you exist, so what is this existence? And through your sincere and authentic approach, and natural approach, and very compassionate one, begin observing yourself. That's it. So you don't need to waste time. Immediately become compassionate, become an efficient human being. That means that when you live throughout your day, don't cause more. In other words, be more of that efficient technology. You know? Visualize as if you were the greatest technology, your environment would be utilizing you to enhance. So you're enhancing your environment. In a sense. So by you being authentic with yourself, you're giving yourself permission to see in ways you haven't before. Now, I want you to, in a moment, let all conception fall and see that there is a black hole. There is an aspect of this reality which is an ending we don't know. So in other words, one exit of this reality is from, let's say, from the darkness. Another exit from this dimension is from the light. And so regardless of what kind of being you are, you have different preferences in the spectrum. But you need to also realize that it's as if all these beings are put in the same box, because we're present as in a society. So you need to, in a sense, really take in the advice of the Christ, which was the golden rule. To treat your neighbor like yourself. To realize that any moment of existence is equal in moment of existence. So you automatically become compassionate not to animals, but to everything, to even phenomena, to the sense that your contemplation of physical reality is more than just the movement of your fingers with an awareness of the palm. It is like the bodies in themselves are greater dimensions in which time is even being originated. So imagine going through experiences before time is conceived. You are still present. It's very hard to explain. It's like you're present because you're looking down. It's as if, you know what I'm saying? It's like the same way of being present as if you were on the top of the mountain and you looked down at the mountain, right? I mean, you are seeing down there. You are present in some very abstract way, do you know? Down there, you know, because your vision's there, but you're not really there, so your experience is not there. So it's very hard to explain this because reality is playing with itself and we are simply a peaceful observance of it. In our ability to turn black holes into the collective vision of white holes means that we must have such an awareness as a being here that our gaze is alchemy. So what that means is when you see a horrible situation, You don't get pulled into it. You pull whatever is in that situation into a greater frequency, into a greater resonance. So in other words, let's assume you were a being that you didn't have hands in this world. Let's say, and some people, in a sense, have that experience. And let's say if you didn't have your body parts, if you were just a presence, you would see that you're not in a dimension where your contribution has to be in changing things. Do you know? Reality is changing. So your awareness to it is always a newfound awareness to all existence. It is only then that you will see symbols become valuable when you have first observed yourself. You have observed the emptiness which is in every idea that you consider to be you. And so as that person is standing on the peak, he is realizing he's just worn one of those skydiving suits that, in a sense, you glide with. And so you're gliding between these trees. And so you have never found such an affinity for a squirrel's experience and, you know, during the certain seasons. But you will simply see that as you're going and as you're flowing, your experience is one of transformation. When you keep transformation aware in a very life sensitive way, you simply see that the illusion is not present because there is no one that is eluded. You know, there's no one that's confused. The confusion was how the environment was received in one moment. It does not need to be received in that moment. What that means is that, you know, there's a reason why you don't make mistakes after a couple times. There's a reason why when you fell as a child, when you were crawling, you crawled and you stood up. So similarly, your consciousness now is crawling from this isolated space-time sense of acknowledging things and moving into a greater vastness, moving into a direction where your story is no longer your step. You realize there is no way out of the story as the character that you think you are. The only way is the awareness to everything, which is the experience of the storyteller. And so these are simply just certain methods that you can utilize. Everyone can utilize something to jump into an understanding of nothing, which is actually the realization of those who realize that when they look at themselves, there's nothing there. And so there's a profound element where you are no longer. It's as if your sense of renouncing physicality is not because you're trying to follow curriculum. It's just because you are seeing what doesn't serve you and you detach, and then you follow and you have more choices. It's as if your free will is being made aware of in a much more intelligent way, in the sense that your awareness is not limited to just what it thought it was in a certain individual, let's say, sense of being. Your collective sense of being is actually how that individual is just floating in everything, you know? This flow is the all-absorbent moment of reality where you realize you have got enlightened through your meditation, not by looking at the candle flame or any object in front of you, but by acknowledging your whole moment through the knowing that is empty. It's as if that moment where Gaia, the planet, suddenly realized, wait a minute, I'm in emptiness, you know? And so there was a profound, in a sense, uprising of vision, you know? It's sometimes very profound because I notice that there's gravity, right? And so when we see gravity, we see two different objects pulling each other. And so if we take that context into the sense that it's like two lovers, you will see that it's as if the human being can merge with all being. It's that you don't just have the ability to be the human being, you're all that you're aware of in your moment. And so it's your ability to reduce symbology to only one symbol, which you eventually let go, like the sticker, like the last sticker on your forehead. And you simply just realize that it is your awareness of life which is your vitality. Because guys, it is not, let's take the concept of gravity as I mentioned, it's not just that you are looking at life and you are keeping life there. All life is also keeping at you. similar to how you long for yourself to go and really explore what this vastness is. Similarly, every single particle, every single form has that same sense of longing into, in a sense, dissolving. Do you know why? Do you know why everything is attracted to everything, and so all existence is the greatest dance between the form and formless, the greatest love story? Do you know why? Because it is you who has given life. It is your sense of attraction which is reflected in every particle that you can envision. And so you see that it's as if the visionaries that landed here for a second forgot that if one was aware of what the seer of thought was aware, they would see that thought was never ability. Thought was never the brush or the intelligence of the artist to draw or paint. Thought was just how the colors looked like in that moment, just how imagery communicated to you. And so find the sword of sincerity within your life. Find a moment where you stop things to begin them again with such a greater profundity and you knowing who you are beyond limited conception. Because you can choose to create a box, but I'm that guy who's trying to break every box, to say that there's no need for walls when we're one family. You know, there's no need for borders when it is creating the havoc, because individualization is associated. It's like after this, let's say a couple hundred years of getting people to realize that they're existentially with everything, the collective consciousness becomes its own allowance. You will see it is a playful allowance, the fact that you can think that there's an apocalypse coming. In an instant, just like how life can be taken, this reality can, in a sense, become transparent to be found in many others. Think of it this way. If you had an ability to be invisible, you would see that your attention will go on the meaning of life being all visibility. And this is why at times people find that the attention that is around you, whether you are considering it other beings or whether you're considering it whatever you're considering, life is there so that you recognize you were the intermediary between God and man. You were not just that. You were not just in the dilemma of wondering whether you're God or you're not God. You know, it's not a creator-creation dynamic. It is a sense of simultaneous acknowledgement where the values of the spectrum were never there because the intelligence was never just there. It's as if that old man in the bus station wasn't just an old man, or was perhaps a veteran, was perhaps a man who had seen, who had stories in which many movies could be made of. So you will see that there's always more to than what you think, so be compassionate to all thought, to all judgment, in the sense that if in a moment something comes to, in a sense, take away something from your reality, there's nothing there to be taken away. You have become as transparent as the wind. And so the wind has been one of my greatest teachers, because it has taught me that live this life in a way where if at the end of it you were never here, you would still be like, that was a good dream. Do you know? So it is, in a sense, the fact that I exist here that I may give myself the permission to perceive this existence within greater structures. Because you have to choose to then have a spectrum. There had to be the first circle of the flower of life for the others to appear. And so I don't know how much people have explored this, but I just want to say this for those people who are interested in sacred geometry. Don't see these shapes as just shapes on a piece of paper. You will realize that in your awareness to shape, your mind will play with your limitation. The minute you observe your limitation, you sit down and you concentrate, your ability to concentrate is just pouring awareness to find this problem. It's as if the engineer's mind was just a valve, and so the minute he opened it, it's as if the greatest concepts had just poured out. So in this awareness to our design, you must find the grace that will show you the knowing of who you are in this present moment beyond what you know. You will see that when this happens, it will be an empty moment. It's as if a silence has just appeared where there was none before. And this silence is making you aware as if you were in a different room, as if reality was never what you thought it was, because it was kept by chaos. All ordered vision was kept by chaos. And I hope you see that whether you are that astronaut in space, or whether you are that kid who just drew a black hole on his piece of paper in class for no reason and wondered what that could mean, you would see that at some point human consciousness will be conscious of itself beyond its humanity. And so you are the introduction of that as you exist now. You will be taken by a grace that you had always found. You will see that love is actually what gives you ability, because love reminds you of who you are, and love is an allowance. It's one of the most profoundest existential allowances that the human mind can, in a sense, perceive and perceive through. I hope that you have found the meaning of reality to be one that is always present in your moment. Whether you see a whole black hole or whether you see galaxies, it is you who is looking. And this sense of sight, this sense of awareness to existence, is beyond temporal reality. For the ability of the pilot of consciousness was not that he was navigating his individuality, but that he was the sky that allowed any plane to fly. Much blessings and namaste.